Hello everyone, and welcome to Townsquare Media Jersey Shore's 8th episode of Ask the Chief. I'm Vin Ebenau here in Bayhead with Police Chief William Hoffman to discuss current events, 2020, what's happened with the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, what the summer of 2020 looks like because of it, and we'll find out what some of the things are that Chief Hoffman enjoys about police work prior to COVID and, even now. So Chief, thanks for having me here in Bayhead.
Thank you, Vin.
So, this is a discussion I've had with other police chiefs, including Chief Michigan, who's hop, skip, and a jump away from the department here, and even some mayors and other people that 2020 has brought on some challenges, kind of that roller coaster feeling of, the highs and the lows, and with a lot of different things going on this year. So prior to COVID, and certainly as the pandemic hit the shore, Ocean County, the country, the world, how have you seen things change? What have been some of the challenges for you here in Bayhead, and some of the things that you've heard or discussed with other police chiefs around Ocean County in terms of compliance, enforcing directives that have come down from the state, whether they're coronavirus related or not, and then certainly as the beaches and boardwalks and everything opened up this summer, has that added to what a normal summer and normal year in Bayhead would look like?
Yeah, I think what happened is our pre-summer for us usually would start probably like in May, somewhere around going into Memorial Day, where now with the pandemic starting and all the uncertainties, we saw that influx of people and residents coming down in as early as March. So that started our season off earlier, and then the real summer season, which we used to be like the middle of June to Labor Day, started when the preseason would have started, which is like the beginning of May. So we've been extremely busy for the last 3 months now.
And I know we spoke, I think it was sometime in the beginning of May, where we're trying to look and figure out what the beaches situation would look like come the summertime when everything was opened up, and you're like, you're not going to be able to have those kind of big beach parties that you once had. You have to have the social distance and everything. Have you seen a lot of compliance for that?
Yes, with the changes in the executive orders, we try to keep on top of them. And the BHIA, which is the Bayhead Improvement Association, who actually controls and runs the beaches with the town, they did a really good job. They came out with a formal plan on what they were going to do for daily beach sales. They had a very heavy pre-season sale of seasonal badges, so they knew that the dailies may have to be cut back, and they've done a nice job on a daily basis, depending on the weather, how many badges they would sell, and then directing people to certain beaches so that the social distancing stayed in play.
Now, there was an incident certainly next door a couple months ago in Point Pleasant Beach, on the beach, with that large gathering that I discussed with Chief Michigan and everything with weed and parties and stuff like that. Has there been anything, not necessarily that big, but any issues on the beaches and boardwalk with people partying or looting or littering or anything else?
No, we've seen an influx of the amount of people that are coming to use our beach, especially after hours when the beach closes from the beach sales. But my guys do periodic checks on an ATV and walk-over checks, we call them, where they go up over the dune, check things out. We haven't seen anything more than usual in the criminal aspect. The day you're talking about, we did go assist Joe, Chief Michigan, and his staff up in the beach with 3 of my officers and myself, but we have not seen that group, massive groups of people coming to our beach.
I want to touch on that too. Just with all the police departments getting together on June 9th, I believe it was, in Point Pleasant Beach, what the incident aside, and not to dilute it or anything, but what does that show that Ocean County law enforcement comes together when they need when one town needs a little bit of backup, whether it's been you in the past in Bayhead or other towns nearby? Does that show what kind of strength that Ocean County Police has, that you're able to say, hey, we need some help, and you get that call, you're able to respond and help another department out? Yes,
there's no doubt. There's never a hesitation to get help from any other town, especially on either sides of my town. That's like automatic. And then as far down as the county goes, even that night, we're on like a group text for the chiefs, and everybody offers assistance when anything's going down. Sheriff Mastronardi has been fantastic, lending out manpower anytime us or our smaller towns need assistance, and they have the resources that some of our smaller towns don't have, so they're here in a blink of an eye to give us a hand. And even most recently, we've had some, I'm sure you saw, stolen vehicle issues up and down the coast, and the sheriff has been on top of that, helping us out. But yeah, the answer to the question, every chief in this county never hesitates to help each other.
Does it feel that during those times where it's like, you're playing for one large team and, everybody's pitching in, doing their part, doing whatever is needed to de-escalate any situation, or just provide whatever assistance is needed at that point?
Do you mean like, do we look,
if
look forward
for
to that?
What happened like Point Pleasant Beach, if it's whatever you're asked to do, whatever you're offering to do, you're just kind of there. Does it help build up that team unity? Does it feel like all the departments getting together is like one large law enforcement team?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you just know that they always have your back.
Right.
And when you have smaller departments like us, I mean, there's some shifts in other departments that equal the size of my whole department. So when something goes real south, we call it, as we say, if you couldn't reach out for mutual aid, you would have some real issues.
One of the instances, I think, with a couple of departments that got together, and certainly that's a current event that happened around that time, was in Seaside Heights, when a Toms River man who just found himself in trouble again with the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office by threatening officers down there. Prior to that, had threatened 3 of your officers, Chrisangelo, and then tied himself to the roller coaster allegedly at the time because he was protesting charges in another town.
Yeah.
Soon found out that town was Bayhead, and we had you and I had a discussion that day of what he did. Now he was facing 3 charges of terroristic threats against your officers. So, what was it like to just hear that come in and deal with that whole situation of somebody just threatening your officers in a video that, to my knowledge, is no longer on YouTube?
Yes.
And then just denying that he even did that.
Yeah, the history with Chris goes way back since Sandy. He was also involved in the situation in Seaside Heights. So our history with Bayhead Police and Chris started back then. The newer incident, there's been some dealings with Chris prior to the threats, and he has a tendency to make videos, and he kind of incriminated himself on one of the videos, threatening to harm 3 of my officers, and that we presented that to the prosecutor's office, and they felt that it was enough to go ahead and press charges, which we did. And since then, incidents have just progressed with Chris up and down the shore. I'm sure you've seen it on YouTube. Asbury Park, Lavalette, Seaside Heights, a lot, Manilokin. There's a lot of police departments that have been familiar with him. So it doesn't make it any better that we know him and we've dealt with him before. We would rather just cease, obviously. I kind of had a discussion with all my men. We don't provoke Chris. We try not to. We would rather keep things on a normal level, and it just seemed to get a little out of hand and escalate to where charges had to be pressed.
And I mean, that particular day, Chief Boyd was able to talk Chris down from the ride, and he was facing charges for climbing the skyscraper. But there was another video posted on his YouTube channel around that time where he was videoing himself or videoing one of your officers just walking a beat, checking cars and everything, and asking him, why he wasn't charged with a 4th, a 5th, or a 6th terroristic charge. He's like just antagonizing him, saying, throw on more charges. And from viewing it, I think the officer did the best he could in trying to just talk to him and not to allow things to escalate in any way. So what was that? What did the officer tell you about what happened and kind of how things went down?
It's been pretty much the same every time any officer has dealt with Chris. He does try to provoke, including myself. I'm on many videos where he likes to call you names, and he's trying to get a rise out of someone one of the officers or myself to do something that he can have on video and maybe potentially try to turn on us. And my guys are trained to just do their job, ignore him. I happen to ignore him, and he gets very aggravated at that. But I'm not going to put myself in a position to give him any reason to have a problem with the Bayhead Police Department. So we're just being professional and trying to deal with it. Like I said, we would rather get along with him and work things out as he does come to town, but he chooses that usually not to do that.
Now, what kind of training is done, not just for Chris or for other people who do certain things and accuse officers of certain things, call names, try to antagonize them, get a rise out of them, get you to do something that's not legal or not right in that particular situation? So what do you have to do? What do you have to say? What do you have to think in those kind of situations? What do you ask your officers to do to keep things calm and just have a civil conversation with somebody?
Yeah, well, a lot of that starts right in the academy, and as you get more experience dealing with people, you try to de-escalate things instead of escalate them. I mean, obviously, we have to meet force with force, and we're not going to stand there and take that type of abuse. But with someone like that, you talk to him, you do your job, and I tell my guys all the time, as long as you're doing the job and that you're trained to do and you use your training, we're going to be okay, no matter how many video recordings are going. Is it hard sometimes? Yes. Nobody wants to be sat there, called names, but if they're not physically touching you, it is just name calling and verbal, provoking. So you kind of just have to have thick skin and kind of put up with it. To a certain degree. Now, if they start doing things in front of the public, which my guys were also, told, meaning, verbal, foul language, yelling, disorderly, you can then move to a different level and do something. But if it's just one-on-one or him against two or three of us or anybody, doing that to any officer, you kind of just have to sit back and take it.
Talking about some of the challenges in, deal or de-escalate certain situations with police in light of everything that's happened this year, before what happened to George Floyd and then after George Floyd, there's been these sort of discussions about what to do with police departments, what to do with the law enforcement community. Now, the defund is a trending action that a lot of people are considering, with adding more social workers into the mix, which was something that Chief Delane actually started a few years ago down in Stafford, and he didn't necessarily have to defund his department to do it, but to help certain situations where social workers are needed. So I know this is something you have some thoughts on, so what are your whole thoughts about defunding? Is there a possibility of doing that any good, or what kind of harm could that do to a department like yours that is small and to other police departments around the area?
Well, first of all, obviously I'm against any kind of defunding any kind of law enforcement or police departments. In my opinion, it's not going to work. If anything, you need to add funding to bring in the tie between the police and social workers and healthcare workers and anybody else that they want to be involved in with the police department. I don't think any chief is going to say that they're against using social workers and healthcare providers, whatever label you want to give someone. It's only going to help the police department, and it's only going to give us more assets to go to. So if you're going to defund the police, then who's going to do the police job? No matter, you can call somebody whatever they want, but they're not going to be certified police officers to come in and enforce the laws and the rules and the regulations that we do. So the defunding part to me is just something that's just taken off, I think, off of social media and through the media. And I know a lot of these bigger cities are buying into it, but in a town like Bayhead or Maniloking or Point Beach, or any of these towns along the Barrier Islands, it would be a free for all here in the summer. Who's going to be here when a lot of our residents see quadruples, some are 10 times more than we have in maybe 8 other months of the year. So I don't know how a social worker or a paid healthcare provider, like I said, whatever you're going to call them, is going to come in and be able to do that and do their job. if they want to commingle with us, and you can make that. But I think further than that is, I think we need to start having more input in education, because we're seeing an influx of these younger children, and I call them children because they are 12 to 15 years old,
Right.
that are just strictly going off of social media and what they're seeing. I mean, we're seeing it in Bayhead, where my officers are driving down the road, and all of a sudden a group of kids rides by and somebody yells out, a foul language word, the police,
Right.
hands up, don't shoot, all the stuff they're seeing on social media. So no matter what you believe in what's going on out there, I believe it needs to start, and we need to get involved in some of the educational process of the police maybe going into schools with people who have been in trouble or who have been in bad situations with the police, and coming together and seeing how we can fix that. But getting rid of one side isn't going to work.
So we're working with superintendents or principals in the area, and maybe having a lecture
Yeah, I mean,
once a month, once a year.
Whatever it takes, because again, I'll bring it up. The social media, well, that's what they're going by, that age group. And I think if you really sat down with them and let them talk and say, okay, what do you think this means? What do you think police brutality means? And let them, and then maybe we can tell them how our training is and what we really do in situations like that, and why we do what we do, and maybe train them and teach them on, if you encounter the police, this is what you should do, instead of all the resistance that we're getting now right away. Right away it's, we're the bad guy and they didn't do anything wrong, and that has to come to an end.
Does education help with, or would this education plan kind of help with communication with the general public and letting them know how to interact with police and how police are going to interact with you? And I know Chief Michigan brought up and said, we're not walking up and down the boardwalk looking for, to just arrest people
Exactly.
for no reason. If you're doing something wrong, or in the case he brought up, drinking a bottle of Hennessy, just walking up and down the boardwalk, there's something wrong with that. So do you think that could help with communication? The education will lead into that communication, that transparency that people in the public want to see, so that they know what's going on?
Well, that's what you hope for, and you hope that if you can get some kind of programs going like that, it can lead further into maybe other seminars, as you said, or assemblies. It doesn't have to be just through the schools, because now you get into the older age groups who, they may feel a different way. But this up-and-coming group is, like I said, is driven by social media, and that's what they think is true and believe. And as well as I do, on social media, most of the stuff is chopped up and they only show what they want to show.
Right.
Like in Chief Michigan's case, there was a lot more to that video.
Yeah.
And again, I'll reiterate probably what Chief Michigan did. If you break the law, you're going to attract the police. The police are going to come and do their job. So I think we need to go back to starting over where, okay, your encounter with the police started. Where did it go wrong? Why did it go wrong? How about just listening it and working it out, and then letting it go where it's going to go? Sometimes these wouldn't even be arrests or something. It may just be an encounter with the police, and the reaction of the person you're dealing with sometimes dictates where it's going to go. But on the other hand, there's another side to it too. The officers have to understand that just because something is going on in front of you doesn't mean it's always what you perceive, and you have to know how to gauge things and act too. So there's work needed on both sides, but I still believe that this defunding and getting rid of the police, and it's all law enforcement's fault, is not going to work. It's heading down a bad path.
To sort of shift gears into a more positive note as we kind of close things out here. So what are some of the positive things you've seen on social media or in the community in Bayhead, of the community getting together, of any support for police, anything that makes you or anybody working in your department feel good about the job that they do on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, it's by far more positive than negative, but as we touched base on what we talked about, the defunding, you can't skip over, because it's in society right now.
Right.
Around here, we're not getting that feeling. And like I said, once in a while you'll have a juvenile or somebody yell something out to the police. This town is overwhelming in support of the police. It starts with the mayor, the council, our police committee, my guys, everybody's on the same page. Everybody works hand in hand. We talk to each other. We meet occasionally. We text, we call if there's problems, questions, and keep everybody in the loop so we know what everybody's doing. If there is a problem, we go right at it and we try to, take care of it then. The support's been awesome in this town since I've been here, but even better now that things are going a little sour on the outside. We have people dropping off lunches to us, gift cards, sending letters in, thanking us for what we do. There's law enforcement flags flying around town on occasion, and we haven't really seen much negativity at all, other than a few bypassers here and there.
To follow up on that, what has been the best part of the job? COVID 2020 or not for you, as being the police chief in Bayhead and a police chief in Ocean County. What's it all been like for you? What's it like to get up and head to work every day and serve the community?
It's been fantastic. I mean, I couldn't I couldn't ask for a better town to work for. I've also been involved with the Ocean County Police Academy for the last 21 years, instructing out there. So it gives me a chance to meet everybody who goes through Ocean County Academy, which has been nice. So when I do go to other towns or I do see these kids up and coming, they remember you from the academy. So that's good, and it's also good for contacts once they go to other departments, to help each other. Ocean County Chiefs Association is fantastic. Like I said before, every chief does not hesitate ever to help each other, the sheriff included, and it makes you feel like you can go to work and get some stuff done that you want to do. And I've always said, back when I did hit year 25, when I could have retired, the couple reasons I didn't was, one, I knew I had a good shot at being chief, but the other one was I still love my job, and until I lose that, I'll see what I'm going to do. But that keeps me coming here every day. And my family is behind me 100%. My wife, and she understands the positions that we're in now. But and the guys that work for me, it's just a great group of guys. We hire a lot of times. These guys work for us as Class 2 specials, and we get to pick them up hopefully someday, or we can pick from them. So they've already worked here, and you know what you're getting. So we have a very good cohesiveness in the department.
Baseball question to you as we close things out. Because of your last name, is there any relation to Padres Hall of Fame closer Trevor Hoffman?
No. I get that, and I get, did we own Hoffman's ice cream in the beach or Hoffman's donuts? And I always tell everybody no, because if we did, I wouldn't have been a police officer probably. But other
no
than
baseball
that,
autographs.
No Trevor Hoffman in this family.
That's all right. That's right. Chief, thanks for taking out some time to discuss police matters, what's gone on in Bayhead and in Ocean County over the last few months, and just giving your thoughts on the state of police today. Anytime.
Thank you for the opportunity.
That's Bayhead Police Chief William Hoffman. I'm Vin Ebenau. Make sure you download our Townsquare Media Jersey Shore family of apps, 92.7 WOBM, 94.3 The Point, 105.7 The Hawk, and Beach Radio 104.1 FM. Stay tuned to our Facebook page and on air and online for the next episode of Ask the Chief. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you around.